Welcome back to the Morning Blend Extra. Joining us now is Natalie Barber of Tobin, Ramon and Barber Law Firm. Natalie, thank you so much. Yeah, right. We can put your name first on there, right? Well, hey, thank you so much for stopping by the Blend Extra today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting things out here, can't I just do sort of estate planning myself? Why should I go out of my way to hire an attorney for something like that?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. So you can try to do your estate planning yourself. There are, I'm sure, online resources and whatnot, but you won't have that peace of mind that everything is truly put in place for when you die.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And
or if
obviously,
you become incapacitated.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, there's that human touch to it as well, that maybe something looking online or something along those lines, is not going to be able to provide something like that as well.
That's right.
Yep. And then, when sort of, obviously, it is a tough topic, but when really is the best time to start thinking about, should I do an estate plan?
Yeah, so if you're 18, you can technically start your estate planning. I would say if you're married or about to get married, or you've just had your first child, or you've just purchased your first home, those are sort of benchmarks throughout your life, and that's when I've noticed that people come to see me.
Yeah, absolutely. And also for anyone who was watching, I know, Natalie, you were on the Morning Blend here this morning, but I suppose for anyone who really isn't aware, what really is estate planning for anyone who's not aware?
Oh yeah, so it's just a set of documents that tell us where you want stuff to go when you die. If you have minor children, inside the will, even if you have a trust, you still have a pour-over will, and in that will, that's where we establish guardians for minor children. And then you've got power of attorney documents. The documents are separated into, I would say, two categories. So you've got the power of attorney documents, healthcare and finance. Those are the documents for during your life. And then you've got wills and trusts, and those are for after you pass away.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, over there at your guys' law firm, you guys do kind of all of these, consultations and things like that?
Yes. So kind of like getting your car fixed, quotes are free. So come see me and the meter's not running. And that's also how we do, once you hire us and you choose your document set, you choose your estate plan, then there's a flat fee associated with that. And it's a one-time flat fee. And it's a lot of documents. It's 9 to 15 documents typically. From our smallest plan ranging to our largest plan. So the flat fee is a bit hefty, but we allow you to break it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, obviously, making an estate plan like this, it's going to take a lot of your own personal documents. So, before you head out for, your free consultation over at the law firm, should people be getting everything organized and summarized before they go, or should they just head out to you?
No, there are no prerequisites. It's not like that college class where you can't sign up for it until and unless you do this or meet with your counselor first or whatever.
Right.
So really, truly, you just show up. And I can glean everything I need to from our conversation, and I can get started on your documents.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I suppose, for that, first consultation, sort of walk us through kind of, what's discussed kind of at that first consultation.
Yeah, so I get an idea of your family structure. I get an idea of your goals for where you want stuff to go when you pass. We talk about your important point people for the jobs, right? The person that's going to be your go-to person to help administrate or carry out these documents. And then we talk about the crux of the conversation is will versus trust. Why do I need a trust? As you could imagine, the trust package is more expensive than the wills package.
Gotcha.
But it's got more benefits. Sometimes, though, depending on your asset ownership and your family structure, you don't need a trust.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to recommend a trust for you if that's not the right fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's not a case-by-case, or it's a case-by-case basis. It's not a one-size-fits-all sort of a thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you get on the internet. You had asked me before, can't I just do it myself? You can, but those are kind of built for like the average person. Well, the average person is right in the middle. What about all of us over here and all of us over here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, obviously, this is something I think a lot of people probably start thinking when they, get a little bit older in age. But, what benefit does really, starting an estate plan, now, like what benefits does that provide me?
Because then the foundation is there. All the documents, your estate planning documents, are changeable. Revocable or revocable, depends how fancy you want to sound. So they're changeable all throughout your life. So kind of like musical chairs, right? When the music stops, we're stuck with your last best document set.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to get started early so that you've at least got the foundation established, because that's what takes the longest and the most amount of thought and consideration and probably stress on people's parts. And then we can just kind of step in. It's kind of like gardening, right? We'll just kind of prune here and change here.
I was just going to say, is that something where you kind of have to, continually update, like maybe bring in some, updated forms kind of maybe over the course of some time and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we always say major life events, a birth, a death, a retirement, you're moving, things like that.
Yeah,
and then come see us and see if your plan is still fitting your needs. And then it's good to check in. I would say if it's been 10 years, you've probably waited too long to check in with me. You don't need to check in with me every year. Most people don't try to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Who wants to hang out with an attorney every year unless you need to, right?
Hey, I think you're pretty fun.
Well,
I don't see any
thank
reason
you.
as to why it wouldn't be fun. Well, and then, wrapping up, one more quick question here for you, Natalie. Why should I fit an estate planning, into my family budget?
So if you don't have an estate plan, the state of Illinois has one for you, and it's interesting. I'm not sure what the basis is for, but you probably won't like it.
Yeah.
It's not very robust. It doesn't take care of minor children, people with special needs. It doesn't really account well for blended families. And if you don't have an estate plan, you're going to go to probate. So you're going to see me eventually, or at least your loved ones will, and you'll have to pay an attorney to file a court case and go to court every month for 6 months. And it's expensive, it's time consuming. And when you've got those grief goggles on, meaning when someone just passed, everything just seems more difficult.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say, why not do a trust? You've built in the smooth sailing.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely goes back to that, again, that one size fits all versus that personal touch. Everything is case by case, and obviously you want something like that, especially in, that moment of grief. So
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Natalie, thank you so much again for coming onto the show here. And if you're looking for help putting together an estate plan, you can check out Tobin, Ramon, and Barber at 530 South State Street in Belvedere, or you can visit them at tobinramon.com.